in a local program when I was probably 4 years old. I have this distinct memory of standing in Lake Champlain up to my knees in freezing water in probably the end of May, trying to blow bubbles. From there, I graduated to a small competitive program and swam competitively at 7, 8, 9, 10. I wasn't particularly good. I was better at distance than short, but they only had competition at short. And dropped swimming at that point and picked up water polo when I went to university at about 17. And played water polo competitively for the better part of 20 years. Partway through the swim, there was one of the kayakers yelled something about seals. And I could see a seal just cavorting around in the water having a great time. And at one point I looked up and the seal came up out of the water, did a flip behind one of the kayaks and came back underneath me and looked up and smiled as if to say, "All right, let's see what you can do."
He's very fortunate today. This is a miraculous day. It's Ned's day. It's a sense of fulfillment to be able to push yourself to and sometimes beyond what you think your limits are to accomplish a goal. It's been perfect conditions. We started with a little bit of wind. It was directly behind him. He was running with a following sea, literally body surfing for a while, and he's making incredible time. He's moving at approximately 2 knots of speed over ground, so he's doing fabulously. He's been feeding every 30 minutes. We have 7.1 nautical miles to the finish.
And then at one point I just stopped. And what had happened is there were manta rays swimming underneath me. Unfortunately, the boat crew thought I had died. And the next thing I heard was a big splash. I picked my head up to see one of the safety kayakers had launched himself out of his kayak and was swimming towards me. If he had touched me, the swim would have been over. I would have been disqualified. So I was yelling at him that I was fine, 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 and at the same time getting ready to swim as fast as I could away from him.
How are you feeling?
Feeling okay. Good.
Okay. Well, you got to make sure. He doesn't like it when you ask that, but you got to ask it.
So the start was a little bit scary because it was very dark and very lumpy and there was quite a bit of wind, and having to change the location I think kind of bothered him a little bit. But then once it got into about 6 a.m., 7 a.m. and the sun started to come up, he started to swim more strongly and the wind isn't as bad as it was. So he's almost 3 miles from shore now, so it's all looking fantastic, and this has been something he's wanted to do for a long time.
Before him was Ashby Harper in 1984. And Ashby Harper at the time was the oldest man to swim the English Channel, and he came over to do this, and his time was 16 hours, and I'm going to say 16 hours and 15 or 20 minutes, something like that. And then the year before that, in 1983, I swam this course, and it took me 15 hours and 15 minutes. So only a handful of people have done this. Just the camaraderie of the people that are involved and the positive vibes and the positive feeling, everybody working together to make this a success.
Going well.
I didn't consider stopping, but that's probably not a smart thing. When you're in that hypothermic range, you tend not to stop, and you rely on your boat crew to judge you and to give a decision to pull you out. And I think it's very tough as you get closer and closer to shore. The natural tendency of the boat crew is to cheer you on, not to pull you out. And they asked me over dinner last night, what would have happened if they had tried to pull me out? And I think I would have started swinging. There's just no way you're in the water for 10 hours. You can see the beach clearly, and you're going to be told to get out. It just doesn't happen that way. You're driven to that beach. So I was having a little bit of trouble speaking. The firemen appeared out of nowhere. I was doing fine, but there was probably a 10-second delay in all of my answers. They didn't really give me a choice, put me into one of their fantastic fire trucks and whisked me off to the hospital. My core body temperature was below 90, and yeah, tough 5 hours recovering in the hospital. The previous record was over 15 hours. So a 48-year-old man to hold a speed record across the channel that'll last about 6 months until somebody in their late 20s, early 30s comes along and absolutely decimates it. They'll be doing that in 7 hours in a few years. But I'll enjoy it for a little while now, and the satisfaction of swim goes a long way.